Mike's heart is useless. He's going to need a transplant or he's going to die.
What make Mike so sick?
Transplant surgery is very expensive.
We got insurance.
There are no provisions in your policy for a procedure of this magnitude.
What's up, Doc Squad? It's your favorite doc, Dr. Bryant, and that clip from the movie John Q, y'all, you know it just hits different when you start to think about the recent murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The CEO's murder is indeed a tragedy. However, news of his death was met with sarcasm online, y'all. I don't know about that. Listen, but we're gonna break it all down as it relates to us meaning us black folks, okay? So because y'all know this, listen, when America gets a cold, Black America gets what? We get pneumonia. You don't wanna miss this, because guess what, y'all? I'm drinking the Truth Juice, and you are on Truth Talks. Okay, baby.
All right, truth tellers, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ryan Cameron, a.k.a. the voice of the plane train. So, you know, be careful, all right? If you know, you know. And as always, we got our other co-host, my brother from another mother, Willie Moore Jr.
Welcome, truth tellers. I'm Willie Moore Jr., the voice of faith, fun, and sometimes frustration, and I'm getting over selfishness.
Yes.
And Dr. Viral, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
What's up, Doc Squad? You know what it is. It's your favorite doc, and I'm drinking my Truth Juice tonight, so hang with us.
And joining us today is a very special guest, Dr. Sarah Fontenot. You may know her from her viral podcast, It's Giving. Welcome to Truth Talk, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I think we all have a story that tells as it relates to the healthcare coverage or the lack thereof, because I'm definitely Canadian.
Listen, I'm just trying to get some medicine to regulate my sha-na-na. Now, boo, I know you don't know what that is,
I don't.
but that's where your Holy Ghost lives, right here on your right side.
Truly.
And I know you from Canada, but in black church, when that Holy Ghost hits you, it quickens your spirit.
Ooh.
That's your sha-na-na.
All right, Willie, before we fix your sha-na-na, tell us what's going on with our trending truths.
Indeed. Well, congratulations to rapper Glo'Rilla, representing Memphis to the fullest. She's #1 on Billboard's 10 hottest female rappers of 2024. List other rappers who made this year's list include the Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, Sexy Red, St. Louis Stand Up, Lotto, Doechii, Doja Cat, JT Rhapsody, and of course, the one and only Cardi B. Now, did Billboard get it right this time? Flo Milli, Doja Cat, and Ice Spice didn't make the list at all. Is there any other female rappers that should have been on this list that did not make the cut? Is the true question.
I think Brie Renee straight from the A should have been on that list.
Yeah.
That's what I am gonna say.
I think Trina should have made it.
The
a
bad.
throwback.
Yeah, I mean, because she's been very active. I always wonder who puts these people on the list. Is it based on sales? Is it based on social media? What is it really based on? And again, who's sitting around these tables deciding who is going to make the cut? And I don't know how many brown people be at the table, honestly.
You know, I think it's so beautiful though in this industry. You know, back when I was coming up, I think you had the Lady of Rage, you had Queen Latifah, and it was just so sporadic. It was almost in the music industry, like everybody had to take their turn to get shine, especially if you were a female. But to see these young ladies just grab the bull by the horn and literally say, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, I'm putting my talent out here, and here go the thing. Baby girls is rapping, like rapping. I just watched that girl Doechii on the Tiny Desk situation.
Yeah,
So
she
good.
killed it.
Here's the thing, I'm a new fan. I didn't even know her from a can of paint, but when I got an opportunity to hear, I was automatically hooked. So shout out to all the ladies out there really sharing your gift, and your gift's making room for you.
I love to see the females dominating in the rap space. It's amazing. And I love when we can come together. However, it's about to be a girl fight with Tia Kemp and Toni. They currently work together on a podcast called Auntie, but they might come to an end because the aunties have beef.
Really?
Tia Kemp said she was warned about Toni's antics before they started production on the show, and she informed producers that if the show is renewed, she is not willing to work alongside Toni.
When Tokyo found out, she shared on a live stream saying she wants to lay hands on Tia Kemp. I'm talking about left rights. Come on, somebody.
Left rights, Willie.
Now, can you imagine if I went on live to threaten to lay hands on my dear brother Ryan?
Oh, Lord.
Is this behavior acceptable, especially when two people are making this type of money?
They need to call them TFT.
Yeah, and I think it's show appropriate. You're talking about a show that I believe is on Zeus, right? So Zeus, that's what they sell. They sell violence. I'm not saying I condone it. They sell, black folks going against each other, disagreement. So I'm not saying this rhetoric is fake, but however, it could be a narrative that's created to tee up the show. Because, Toni, she fits Zeus.
Yeah.
That's why I said they ought to call it TFT.
What's that stand for?
Two fools together. That's what they are. And they know exactly what they're doing. And I think they should go ahead and renew them for the next season because it's going to end up going to, to the wrestling. They need to see them on, they need to wrestle, they need to box on pay-per-view. They got to make some money off of this because they are both so volatile and neither one of them knows how to stand down.
Wow.
Jake Paul will fight them both. It's okay.
Oh my goodness gracious. Here we go. All right. So actor Coleman Domingo is sharing his excitement about HBO's Euphoria season 3. He says the new season is worth the wait and the script, it took his breath away, okay? The new script took his breath away. It's been nearly 3 years since season 2 premiered. The show was originally scheduled to launch in 2025, but has been pushed to 2026.
Now, actress Zendaya is returning for her role as Rue, and she's expected to make $1 million per episode. But last month, actress Storm Reed shocked fans when she announced she's not coming back for season 3. So do you think fans lost interest in Euphoria, and will season 3 be successful? I think Zendaya is the star, and as long as Zendaya's in there, that's why she's getting that coin. It's gonna be all right.
Anything she touches turns to gold.
Yeah.
Well, I know she better do something, getting $1 million a day. That's a whole lot of pressure. Shout out to your agent.
Y'all know I'm more of a YouTube and audio
She don't watch
girl.
TV.
I don't either.
But I can say that I don't watch TV, and guess whose name I know? Zendaya.
Right.
I know that for sure, right?
Yeah.
And so I know she's in her bag. I know she's getting paid. And to your point, Willie, when people are paying you that amount, they're paying you to do a job.
Yeah.
They're paying you to deliver. What I love most is that this is a black woman getting paid, and she's able to expand her art of what she does and what she loves to do.
I'm not a TV person, but one of my girlfriends hit me up and she said, Sarah, Euphoria, like it's so toxic, but you gotta watch it. I was like, so toxic, but I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
So I gave it a shot. I tried the show. First episode, the level of low vibration that I had from the circumstances and experiences that these people were
was that
having.
toxic?
Oh, it was so, I can't vibrate there. I don't feel good there. However, Zendaya's bringing it up. She didn't have to do nothing too crazy in her episodes.
Well, one of the things that people are saying about it is it takes too long for these seasons to come back. I remember when Lost, the TV show, came about the plane that was abandoned and it just went to another world. I was hooked. I watched every episode. I was sitting around. I waited on Big Sky. I watched every episode, and then it takes a long time for it to come back. You're seeing the same type of things with Abbott Elementary and other shows. They have these cult followings, and people get bored and they go on to something else. I think this is going to be a problem because after the strike, we just did not jump back into productions as we were used to. And, right now, it's like people just like, okay, when's it going to start?
No, that's because it's not your Law and Order.
Well, they come on every night,
That's why he
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to turn your channels anywhere because we here every single day and we ain't going nowhere, so stick around.
All right, up next, does Trump's win say we need to do away with woke policies? So keep it here on Truth Talks. And welcome back to our show. It's time to shift gears from the latest gossip to the political news making the rounds in our community.
Now, some folks in the Democratic Party are saying that Donald Trump's decisive win is a lesson to do away with supporting woke policies and identity politics. U.S. Representative Richie Torres from New York, he wrote on X that terms like defund the police, from the river to the sea, and Latinx have alienated folks in historic numbers. The new narrative is that the progressive cost Democrats the entire White House.
Now, I don't recall Kamala Harris ever uttering the term Latinx or the words defund the police. She's tough on crime prosecutor who bragged about owning a gun and spoke about her love for a lethal military. She also told migrants not to come to this country. So how is Kamala Harris's losing campaign a left-wing campaign? Is this just gaslighting of Trumpian proportions?
When I think about all of the excuses now on what we should have done, it's giving sore loser. And I hate to say that about us, but at the end of the day, I just believe, listen, when you lose, you make the proper adjustments and you get ready for the next term and you be the best person that you can be in the immediate moment that you're in. At the end of the day, I think Kamala ran a stellar campaign with the amount of time that she had. But at the end of the day, Trump won, in my opinion, because he stood on business on what he said. He spoke to his base.
To your point, as far as being a sore loser, and we all know I'm pro-woman in black, but when she didn't show up to that university to address her supporters, yeah, it really made me say that your leadership is showing why people don't believe that we are ready for a woman president.
Yeah.
And then when you send out a man to address the people, that wasn't a man moment. We love y'all, but that was a woman's moment. To your point, even if you lost, you come out there as a woman and you say, listen, tears and all, I'm gonna shed it with y'all. Thanks for supporting me. We lost, but we still have a plan and we still have to move forward and we have to mobilize. She is still very much a lot of young black girls, role model. She still has a role to play in the black community. Just because you ran and lost doesn't mean that you're done.
Well, she didn't run and lost. She got beat down. I mean, let's
Yeah.
call it what it is. The people spoke. And they spoke on the economy. They spoke on the fact that their lives were not better than they were up under the present administration, where he has now become a lame duck. They invited me today. They said, "Do you want to come to the Joe Biden Christmas party?" I said, "What time is it?" It says 11 a.m. I said, "Damn, what time he getting up?"
And speaking to that, Biden, so Kamala really got Biden in office. I hired her.
Right.
Then come and flip the script. He decides he's going to pull out, 100 and something days prior to election and leave this woman with a limited amount of time to begin with.
They kind of forced him out, though, Doc.
But we think
After that debate, there was nothing
over.
that he could do. But here's the thing.
But we think it's pushed out. We don't know systemically what their plan was. We weren't at the table.
Yeah.
So at the table, they might have said, we're just going to wait to push you out on day number whatever it is. We just seen from our eye what it looked like they did.
Yeah, I think the thing in the barbershop that we always talk about is when Kamala, when she was asked on the interview, is there anything that you would do different and anything that you would change? And she paused. And this was a beautiful opportunity to communicate to the American people that, hey, you know what? I am not in that presidential seat. However, if I was, I think I would have handled this part different, but I support what he's doing. But she said, there's nothing that I would have changed. Yeah. And I think for African-American men and men at large, there's a lot of things in any campaign, not just Joe Biden's, Barack Obama, President Reagan. If you look when you're on the back end of a whole political setting, you're like, yo, there were some things that we couldn't do. Even he would have said, hey, y'all, I wish I could have did this differently. And that was a time for her to stand up. And I think that really took the wind out of the sails of the people.
And I do think that probably created a little bit of a wedge as well, because oftentimes we hear in the community that black men don't believe that black women take accountability. And so it's almost like that thing again of, oh, here's another woman that couldn't do anything good. And then she spent all of that money. I almost, I love the fact that a black woman had an opportunity to run for office. I think that's a beautiful thing. And at the same time, it seemed like a setup because she never really could have won. And then on top of that, for her to spend that much money, now it just makes us look irresponsible. Because how do you really spend, Beyonce got $10 million to stand up there and endorse her for 3 minutes? That is crazy. There are so many different things that you could have done with those funds. But the truth of the matter is, this is Truth Talks. I personally do not think that the nation is ready for a female president, let alone a black female president.
Yeah, I think
and so it seemed.
Hey, well, here goes the thing. I damn sure wish I was famous enough to give me $3 million for them 3 minutes. Like, give me $50 million. That, even my brother Al Sharpton, not directly to him, he got an endowment. He got $500,000. I was like,
$250,000 or something, right?
No, it's $500,000, and he went on his Instagram today and posted a retraction from one of the people who said they wanted him to be investigated or suspended by MSNBC because apparently, this is good for black people, man. One thing we don't do is we don't say we sorry. You know, they went on and he reposted it because according to the reports that they gave him $500,000 or the National Black Action Network to do a get out the vote campaign.
I could have rocked the vote. I could have did anything for the vote for the $500,000 if you're going to put it into one of my entities.
Elon Musk was given millions of dollars and did a whole sweepstake to get people to vote for Trump. And then
$250.
Right. No.
He spent $250 million on the campaign.
Exactly. But he was giving somebody $1 million and then beat the law. When you can't pay nobody to vote or register, he was able to wordplay and beat the law.
Because of how he did it, he caught all that money on the back end because of the stocks.
That's the plan.
And it was. I always think it's funny when people are like, Elon invested $250 million. No. He.
And that's the systemic.
He paid to play.
That's the systemic part I'm talking about.
But it goes to the point of what we're talking about how reality TVs and real stars, how they align now for this new society. society, right?
Yeah.
Because we all are sitting up here, we'd all like to have that kind of money. And Elon Musk, if he was walking here right now, everybody would know who he was,
Yep.
right? Because he is the richest man in the world. And aligning himself with the most radical person, calling yourself the best bud, I mean, it was a plan, man. It was a plan.
And
For
then-
sure.
But whatever they're planning, the centrists and the moderates got their candidates in every election. The Republicans nominated Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton in 2016, Joe Biden in 2020, and Harris in 2024. They lost 2 out of 3 times. So how are they gonna blame the left or the right? Is it really centrists and moderates that are costing Democrats the White House? The centrists and the moderates are people who are in the middle. They don't have a strong opinion on
Right.
anything. It's kind of like if it's a presidential election and you see Donald Trump and you see Kamala Harris, and then you look down the row, then you see somebody else, and then you choose this place. You don't have a strong opinion. So I want to make that make sense to our, kind of younger viewers who may not necessarily know what that means.
Listen, I just think politics are politics.
Yeah.
And I think people need to stop expecting more from politicians. Leaders are different than politicians. Again, policy is what we should be voting for, and not an individual based on politics or based on, identity politics. And so we got to vote for things that work for us first, and then work for our community second, not for a person that looks like us.
Yeah, I think one of the things that came out of this whole election was because Trump is the avant-garde, I don't give a damn, it is now making people, and I know it's going to be hard for people to get by, they're going back and they're looking at Barack Obama. And they're looking at those 2 terms and what he could have done instead of playing status quo and towing the line, because once Donald Trump got into office the first time, he broke all the rules. And now he's even saying the second time, I'm going to be even more harsh. I'm going to go even harder.
No, he's
and
not
people
being
are
a
always,
dictatorship.
when you get into a place of position where you're the strongest world leader, there are things that you should be able to do and not care about what the repercussions are going to be. And I feel like for all the people that we all, yes, we must change, and yes, we can, and all that, a lot of people saying, did we change it? And did you really do all the things that you could have done for not only black people, for America as a whole?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the truth is Donald Trump is not the first president that ran this way. To be honest, there are so many other presidents who are standing on business, but African-American people didn't have a strong opinion. So the bulk of elections were ran this way. And so when he says we're making America great again, he's simply saying that I'm going to run it the way I seen my forefathers run it. And that's really what it means. So I think sometimes he did something that was so spectacular. This is the way all political parties were ran before, I would say before Ronald Reagan. They were standing on business and how they felt. And so when we look back at Barack Obama, he ran a play the way that the play had to be run. The crazy part is that it's only going to get crazier. At the end of the day, when the 4-minute mile was broken, everybody was like, oh my God, now it's been broken so many times that it's just the norm for a person to run under 4 minutes. I think that we're going to see something very, very unique, especially with a person like J.D. Vance, who's on the cusp of actually becoming the president next. Yeah, that's the one you really got to worry about.
You're cooking tonight, Willie. You're cooking.
All right, so coming up, we've got the latest on the death of United Healthcare CEO and why that's important to Black America. So stay with us. We got more on True Talks. And welcome back to True Talks. We're diving deep into the health disparities in this country as it relates to us. Health coverage is back in the headlines following an assassination caught on tape of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Now, we don't want to show this clip. What I warn you, the following footage might be disturbing to some.
But what's been surprising to many is the response online. When the company initially posted about Thompson's death, at one point there were more than 77,000 laughing emojis, okay? United Healthcare has since limited who can respond on the post. Here are a few other online responses. I do not like celebrating the death of anyone, even my enemies, but that doesn't mean I can't celebrate justice. And for those who want to argue justice, the law doesn't define justice. This is a man who led a company invested in killing people for profit. His death is justice.
Here's another. When you shoot one man in the street, it's murder. But when you kill thousands of people in hospitals by taking away their ability to get treatment, you're an entrepreneur.
Now, important to note, a 26-year-old man is now in custody and charged with Thompson's death. So, Dr. B, what do you make of the reaction to Thompson's death?
I just think it's extremely cold and inhumane. That man was murdered. And when it comes to that, I just feel like people need to be able to separate the two as far as what they feel about his position and his job and work, and look at the human side that this man is somebody's father, brother, son, and possibly husband. This is a human being. Of course, we can disagree with whatever policies he was running, whatever policies he okayed, but it's still at the end of the day someone's life. And for someone to have a problem with this man whose policies are putting people's lives in danger and then celebrate his life being in danger, that just seems hypocritical to me.
And look, I'm new to the whole healthcare thing. I am Canadian. I go home, okay?
It's free, right?
It's free.
It's free in
It's
Canada.
free. You can, if you have a heart attack, if you, any of those, it's a completely different world. But I do know that there are different places that you can go to get insurance.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's almost like how people celebrated Kevin Samuel's death. If you don't like his message, why are you going to watch it?
Right.
Are we going to allow our belief to outweigh the truth? And the truth is that a man was killed.
I understand all that, and I feel empathetic about it. But the man used AI as the top of the food chain for United Healthcare, and they denied 36.1 million claims. One of the claims that was denied was chemotherapy for a child with childhood cancer, because you know what AI does now? It eliminates human error. So all the things that the person who might have sat there and said, yeah, I'll approve this, I'll approve this, he denied all of those people, and people were sick and tired of it. They were fed up, and they felt like, you know, if you're going to get away, even the man who got caught in the McDonald's, who comes from a high value home, he had a great education, he was like, enough is enough. And I think there's like this, we got to turn this apple cart over, because I'll tell you right now, man, for him to be so bold, to make $10 million a year and just be walking down the street when he had been receiving death threats, he wasn't living with his family, something was going to happen. And then when they took all of the CEO's pictures off of all of the healthcare websites, which means they were scared.
So Ryan, you mean to tell me, and I hear what you're saying, that you believe that this man deserved to be straight assassinated?
He was getting ready to go on trial and testify for insider trading. He did a stock dump and didn't tell anybody. So not only was he greedy, but he was a bad man.
But the bigger issue in the African American community is that we do not know with these insurance companies that you have the opportunity to challenge the claim. So if we don't know the system, out of that 36.1 million people, the question becomes, how many of them know that they could have challenged the system? Because there are people in the federal, like in the feds right now, they have a state division of insurance. So you can go in there and you can challenge. Here's the thing, the way he did it, it was wrong. But the Bible declares this, that you do not repay evil for evil, but you repay evil with good. So the same people who were praying for people in the hospital were the same people cursing people when it didn't work out their way.
I hear all that. I hear all that. But I think, you know, as I go down this rabbit hole, right, I think that what people don't understand is they set us up for this failure, right? Let's look at 23andMe, right? The genetic stuff, right? You go in, you do a swab or whatever, right? And then you got, you know, Ancestry.com, which I did, right? 23andMe has had issues. They're about to go bankrupt, and they have some other stuff going on too. What you did not know is they passed a law called GINA, meaning that you cannot use genetic code and DNA results to keep somebody from getting health care. But what they did not tell people, say you and Doc get married, right? And y'all decide to have a family, but guess what? You went to 23andMe and you went to Ancestry.com. You cannot get life insurance without disclosing that. So what you're seeing now is not only health disparities, but you're also seeing discrimination against black and brown people, because you didn't know that. You was all about swabbing and trying to join your family tree, and now you're already scared to go to the doctor. You're already scared to go to work, and now you done went out and tried to join the family tree, and they can deny your claim because they're going to run your DNA, because now it is required that it can't be denied for health insurance, but it can be denied for life insurance.
But in 2023, the average family with 4 people in it, they made $80,000. And out of that $80,000, they actually spent $24,000 a year on health care. If you're spending $15 at Chick-fil-A and they don't get your food right, you're gonna go in there and appeal. But my issue is, when somebody says no and you're spending that type of money, we do not know the rights that we have with these companies. You gotta be able to appeal and fight. But okay, I hear people say, but you're too sick to fight. But you ain't too sick to have to come up with the money while you're still in there sick. It doesn't mean that they're not gonna, that they deny you your coverage. It just means that you're gonna get a bill. But when you appeal the coverage, then they're gonna have to give you back pay for what it is.
Get sick, get sick, and then
advocate for some of these people, because you know a lot about this. Seriously.
Okay, so let's turn the focus back to us. I mean, I know we all have a healthcare story or scare, and you know, I want to talk about the fact that when I watched the Jamie Foxx special, there were moments that I felt, I'm not gonna say triggered, but it made me realign myself to what I had gone through, which would be 5 years come April, right? So I got sepsis, and I ended up having a total, organ failure, kidney failure. I had a collapsed lung. I had to have a whole bunch of other things. But I looked back at it, and I was watching this special, and I said, man, I believe somebody in that emergency room might have recognized me. And I don't know how I feel about that now.
I don't like that either, even though I'm happy it saved your life.
Right.
But it's like, what if somebody else came in here with no insurance, with no Ryan King recognition, with no Ryan King name, and they just are left there to just die?
Right.
That is where the systemic issue comes in.
Exactly.
And this is the thing, Willie. It's like, I hear what you're saying, right? About, Black people need to be able to put in the claims, and they need to be able to have this information. But when you're talking about people who are already marginalized, people who are already at a disparity in their neighborhood, disparity socioeconomically, despair within their health condition, right? How do you expect them to have the wherewithal, the resource? How do you expect them to even have the information to figure out, how do I advocate for myself? When my father had prostate cancer, he didn't want to go to the doctors. I popped up on the doctors, and ever since that appointment, I was on his ASS. When he was getting ready to die, and he got paralyzed from that prostate cancer that metastasized into bone cancer, I was calling every rehabilitation home. To Ryan King's point, I called, and the lady said, Dr. Bryant, and because she seen my name on the freaking caller ID, she moved away, and I feel bad for saying this, but it's my father. She moved out 25 people on a list and put my daddy in a bed. Now, that may be messed up, but that's my father, so I had to advocate for him. But to Ryan's point, that's not okay. What if my father didn't have me to advocate for him? I couldn't just tell him, figure it out.
People are dying because of this. It has always happened this way.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell the American people that it's actually about to get worse, especially if they dismantle what I am still going to coin Obamacare, even though they've tried to take his name off of it. And so now this is why advocating and understanding the system better. But there's a beautiful opportunity for nonprofits to step up to the plate to make sure that African American people and people at large are educated on the rights that you have to go in and fight. We either gonna complain or we're gonna get in the trenches and make sure that our people are educated enough to know. I understand people are dying, but here's the thing. We just wanna make sure that this Obamacare thing don't go out, because they really can't deny you some care if you make it to the hospital. They can send your ass a nice bill afterwards, and then you can go out there and fight in the pill.
Yeah, but if it costs $2,000 to get in the ambulance, right?
It's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
No, that's happening right now. And they be like, wait a minute, it's $2,000. I'll walk. So, I mean.
And Ryan, cancer chemo medication is literally $10,000 per freaking volume. You know how many volumes people need for chemotherapy? My grandmother died of cancer. We had to fill out information to get her grants. If she doesn't have this, she dies. So it's like, how do you put a price on something like that?
And this goes back to the difference between being Canadian and American. And I get emotional, I'm sorry if I cry, but I think about how 2023, my dad had stage 4 prostate cancer, and he beat it, praise God. We did experimental research. Yes, girl, we literally did everything, thank you. And honestly, he did all the things, radiation, hormones, he did literally surgery, everything. And for him, I had to have a conversation like, Dad, I need you to walk me down the aisle one day. Like, forget everybody else, can you walk me down the aisle one day? And so that's what made him even open to doing the other things, because he was like, I'm a die a man. And I think that's the issue, that especially inside of the Black community, it's like, no, I don't want to get checked for prostate cancer because I need to be a man, or I'm a man, I'm strong, I don't need to go to the doctor. And so we all know that insurance is such a scam. It's literally that just in case part that really grinds my gears. Even car insurance is through the roof for no reason. But when it comes to health, can anybody please explain to me, what is it with these deductibles? Like I said 10,000 times, I am Canadian. So why is it so damn high every year? I don't get it. If we can function over there, why can't y'all function over here?
The guy who's accused of killing this CEO, they found his manifesto. And one of the things that he talked about, he said, I didn't have nobody working with me. I worked alone. But he said, how are we the most expensive healthcare in the entire world, but we have the 42nd worst life expectancy? So to your point, we got all these costs, but it ain't saving nobody's lives. Now, I'm not saying that's why somebody should be killed, but that's why so many people are saying he's exactly right for what he did. They had to shut down all of his GoFundMes. People were trying to get this man out of jail because they are so pissed off because of the money grab for all of these corporations. I mean, the CEO was making $10 million a year. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, like, how is it that because of the food, because of the diet, because of the lack of care or anything that's preventative, that we still have the 42nd worst life expectancy in the world?
And we talk about politics. What you just said, you have a man making $10 million a year to pass policies in a healthcare system.
Keyword.
System that only caters to one particular group of people. That is what politics is.
Yeah.
That's systemic politics. That's why I said we have to vote for the policies, because politics keeps it systemic.
The part that she just said is system.
Yes.
Any system can be figured out, and there will always be glitches in systems that we do not know about, so we gotta read the fine print.
All right, we've all got stories, and clearly this topic hits home for all of us. Up next, we've got more on health disparities and insurance in this country, but don't worry, our next president, he's got us covered. He's got concepts. He's got concepts of a plan. Stay tuned. It's about to get even more real for all of us on Truth Talks.
Wow.
If I know that in this hotel room they have food every day, and I'm knocking on the door every day to eat, and they open the door, let me see the party, let me see like them throwing salami all over I mean, just like throwing food around, but they're telling me there's no food in here. You know what I'm saying? Every day, I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. After about a week, that song is going to change to, we hungry, we need some food. After 2-3 weeks, it's like, you know, give me all the food, breaking out the door. And after a year, you just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, you know, with civil rights movement. We was asking, you know, now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're going to do? Ask?
And welcome back to Truth Talks. We've all seen that clip from the late, great Tupac Shakur, and it perfectly explains how a lot of us feel when we hear this next story.
Now, around the same time as news broke of the death of United Healthcare CEO insurance carrier Blue Cross Blue Shield came out with the news of their own. The company was going to establish time limits on anesthesia translation. They were only going to cover anesthesia for part of your necessary procedure, essentially passing on the cost of this invaluable medicine to me, to you. Blue Cross Blue Shield received backlash, rightfully so, and have since reversed course after the assassination, right? So my question becomes this: how in the hell were they just gonna give you partial anesthesia for something like heart surgery? For something like, you know, like if you get big cuts and they gotta do something, like how can you give half? Where's the rest of the money gonna come from you? That's gonna send you a bill. So like, how is that going to happen when you could potentially die right there on the table?
Right.
See, listen.
Well,
This is what Malcolm X was talking about.
Yeah.
When he said an eye for an eye. This is what he was talking about. It don't have to look the same, but it got to feel the same. So you want to put ours on a table, and you want to make it to where our quality of life is at risk, and you want to make it to where you have people within our community more marginalized and dying, because after our people die on the table, we also most of the time don't have the money for the funeral arrangements. We also don't have the money to upkeep the house that grandmama stayed in. We also don't have the money to upkeep the family and the kids and to pay the bills, because we're already a very disparate, broken community, right? So when Malcolm said an eye for an eye, even though MLK is an NAACP member and I'm NAACP president, this is when I got to roll with Malcolm, Malcolm X, who was even against NAACP, because he said, y'all too soft. No, and Malcolm said we got to roll up in there like this company pulled back on not wanting to have ASS anesthesia, because when they seen that boy get taken out like that, even though I still think that's a human life that they took, when they seen that boy get murdered, they backpedal real quick, because they understand that there's a consequence that you don't want to deal with. And when you messing with people's families and we mobilize like this as a community, whether it's black or it's our allies, we make a loud splash, and don't nobody want to be in that predicament. They backpedaled. So although it was a life, you know, that life that was taken had a company pull back on something that would have took more lives than just his. Because a lot of times it's one of our lives that are taken to save how many of theirs?
As Willie would say, here's the thing. right?
Oh, Lord, here you go.
No, here's what I want people to understand. The nurses are black. The caregivers are black. When I was going through my health scare, the closer I got to the anesthesiologist, the lighter the skin tone began, right? And I think what people are missing is the reason that they pulled back was because anesthesiologists are some of the highest paid people in the surgical center. And the problem that they didn't want to pay was if you have extensive surgery, it's going to take longer, so they got to pay the anesthesiologist more money. It's not particularly the person who's laying on the table, it's the person who is giving them the propofol who 10 times out of 10 was a white man. I remember when I was going in there and I was like, hey man, you know, are y'all gonna give me the propofol? You know, and he was like, I don't do that. It was almost an arrogance, for he was like, no, that's not what I do. I mean, I'm the chief anesthesiologist. So it's almost an entitlement of the fact that the reason that they pushed back on it was because they knew they would have to pay these high-paid people even more money.
But that's capitalism. So now we're talking about effing capitalism at the expense of somebody's life. That is just systemically crazy. So because I'm not... Listen,
because you're not black and you did not finish the school and you not become a certified nurse and now you're just a practitioner.
But systemically, Ryan, even if I was black and I was an anesthesiologist,
you would not be a black anesthesiologist.
Even if I was, if they made the policy that I'm only supposed to care for you for 1 hour, then that means the second and third hour, what do? Wake up in just an excruciating pain?
And that's why they push back.
That's wild.
I don't think any of this makes any sense to me because, again, my vantage point is way different. But what about the kids that are just dying over the stretch of money? Because I actually think that it's less of a black thing and more of a money thing. Like, because broke white people get treated just as badly in the hospital as broke black people. Often, no, it's a fact. Now, there are certain things about, you know, black women aren't treated as well inside of pregnancy. We do have those types of things that happen. However, it's really more of an economic thing than it is a color thing, race thing.
Well,
no, I disagree with that.
You can take it one second. There's a thing called white privilege.
Right.
That's
yeah,
very
I disagree
real.
with that.
And when a white person is on a table and you got a white doctor, there's privilege because that black person is usually in a lower position of leadership or work, and they don't have the authority to be like, hey, Dr. S, we finna run these plays for Willie real quick because you know he's one of ours. Usually Dr. S is a white lady, and I'm just the nurse practitioner who doesn't have the authority to override or to partner up with you to say, you know, we gotta take care of this brother.
So real question. If there was a man or a woman that was trailer park, right? White trailer park versus black person comes from the ghetto versus Latin person has 12 people living in their family. Would each one of those people, I'm speaking strictly stereotypes, would each one of these people be treated, are there levels to this?
Of course there is.
Yes. Okay, so inside of this, where is it that, because obviously the people that are at the top, the millionaires, the billionaires that own all of these things that are putting these plans into place, yes, the truth about it is that because they are the wealth holders and they don't have these experiences, they don't even know the experience, nor can they understand the experience of what's happening for the poverty line people.
Well, first of all, those wealth holders are usually not in emergency rooms or hospitals. Doctors come to them, number one. Number two, those wealth holders go to private hospitals and private surgeons and have those things taken care of. So they never have to go through the systemic that all of us have to go through, especially us being black.
Now listen, we said it earlier, when America gets a cold, black America get pneumonia. We've all heard the stats. We're seeing higher rates of prostate cancer in black men. Diabetes, obesity runs rampant in our community. How can we advocate for ourselves and make sure we're being heard and getting the proper treatment as it relates to our health? We all know that there are some things that we can also do to be proactive with this. Dr. Sarah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, first and foremost, I feel like if you already are taking medicine, you're too late. Why are we not talking about preventative care? Like, I personally feel like, you know, when they were saying, oh, everybody, if everybody needed to lose weight, why not put in a bill that we have to eat salads and drink water? Why are we selling products that have the same ingredient as paint thinner? Why are we literally poisoning our kids every single day? Why don't we have nutrient-dense food? What's crazy to me, especially in the black community, is when people say things like, no, you know, I have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, it's hereditary. No, your bad eating habits are hereditary. And because you cook with all that butter, cook with all that salt, cook with all that sugar, you don't eat anything green. And I'm sorry, I'm really passionate about this because I come from, like, when I first moved to America and I had my little boyfriend or whatever, I was in a conservatory, I was cooking up pork chops chopped with applesauce on them and all of the sides, because that's how I grew up cooking until I got into wellness and realized that's not effective, right? That over time, it's like compound interest. It builds up. And so I think that we have to start to take responsibility for what we put in our mouth. Most of the time, our food is the healing. Our food is the medicine. And I think that we give away the power inside of that by choosing to go through the drive-through 5 days out of the week.
Yeah, well, so look, this is the thing, y'all. We know black women are disproportionately at a higher disadvantage when it comes to being believed or even listened to by healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Just listen to what happened to comedian Wanda Sykes.
White people get the opioids. There was a study. It's racism. There was a study, and it showed that doctors, they actually prescribe opioids frequently to white people than they do to black. They don't give us opioids because they're sympathetic. They're like, oh, this white person, they're in such pain. They don't give us the opioids. They're like, you can take it, walk it off. I had a double mastectomy. You know what they sent my black ass home with? Ibuprofen.
Listen, y'all. My thing is, I want to educate a little bit. Medical doctors are only allowed to prescribe a certain number of opioids a month. This is where the white privilege comes in at. So if I have 20 white patients and I only have 25 black patients, but I can only prescribe to 19, who do you think based on my white privilege is going to get those opioids? My white patients. This is where I say white privilege plays a role. When my mother went to the pharmacy to get a prescription, they told her, oh, this doctor's red flagged. Why? Because guess what? He had outnumbered the prescription of who he can prescribe it to. So we had to find her a new internal medicine doctor.
Wow. Oh, man. So, and speaking of Wanda Sykes, we have to address the strong black woman trope and how detrimental it's been in terms of black women receiving proper health care treatment, especially black women who are pregnant. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? There are countless stories of black women dying while pregnant, and simple treatments could have prevented their deaths. Meanwhile, I do know that white women are believed and protected. What are your thoughts, Dr. B?
Listen, black women died 3 times more than white women on the delivery table.
Ooh.
So when you're talking about privilege, that's white. When you're talking about medication, there you go. When you're talking about care, there you go. When you're talking about someone who is a medical doctor who takes an oath to provide a quality of life for humans, not a race, they are creating a deficit in that area. And so they're not looking at a black woman's life being as valuable as a white woman because the care that they're giving us shows for it.
Well, I do want to say this, right? Because, you know, every year for about 8 years, I took over a mall and we gave, you know, health care from vision to dental to podiatry and blood testing and diabetes and everything. And the problem that came up over and over again was you got your results, oh, your cholesterol's high. Your sugar is high. We had kids that had to go from the mall to the hospital. The problem is, for our community, is that the next year, the same people came and they had the same damn problems. You know why? Because they did not have a primary care physician. So just like during COVID, everybody was putting down Dr. Fauci as their primary care physician, as Cat Williams was saying. You find out you got a condition. You find out there's a treatment option, but you don't go for the follow-up. And then you end up having problems where, like you said, your dad, he got the medicine. He wasn't, you know, you had to actually, they be kicking and screaming all the way to a better life.
Really quick, talking about COVID, to my white privilege point, during COVID, do y'all remember the first COVID centers, testing centers were only in the white middle class or up class areas, right? We had, myself and the Mayor Albert Robles of Carson, we opened up the very first COVID testing center in the inner city, which is in Carson, California, in the world. The very first COVID testing center. Why did we do that? Because we had to, and this is a Hispanic, he brown, so black and brown had to come together for our marginalized community because it's our responsibility to put that COVID center, testing center, in a place where our people can get that assistance. Ring that bell, Willie.
That's a fact. I love that and respect it. And I think that just like you, it's up to people to really stand for the truth and to stand for those that can't stand for themselves.
There you go.
And who else stood for it than our brother Malcolm, who said it best? Let's take a look.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. That if the white man will do whatever is necessary to see that his woman gets respect and protection, then you and I will never be recognized as men until we stand up like men.
One of my favorite people ever, right? Shout out to Malcolm X. What makes me nervous about all this is so-called hood health.
Yeah.
We laugh at the Chris Rock's jokes, but we all have grandmothers with a homemade remedies because they had to make it. Everything I ever did had to do with a Tylenol. Like, they do what they had to do. But it's 2024. We need expertise from professionals.
Yeah.
Truth talkers, I'm talking to you. We have to be our own best advocates.
Yes.
It's our time to make our health a priority.
Yes.
Get those physicals, make that dental appointment, get the necessary checkups, and listen to your healthcare providers. And if you don't have access to insurance, look into Obamacare while you still can.
Yeah.
Great advice, Willie. Up next, we got Hit It or Quit It, and we're going to have to come back and talk about this woman cooking pork chops with applesauce. And welcome back. Now, we couldn't call the show Truth Talks if we weren't candid with our relationship advice. So, are y'all ready for a little Hit It or Quit It?
Yes, Lord. Now, we've asked our viewers, like you, to DM us with questions they're scared to ask their friends and loved ones. Check out what one anonymous Truth Avenger wrote. Truth Avengers, I need your help. Real bad. I'm a single mom raising a teenage boy, and he's 16 years old. He has a little girlfriend that he's been with for about 2 years, and she's a sweet girl. The problem is, my son told me he's ready to have sex, and I'm just not ready. So I gave him condoms. But I'm also tempted to make him break up with this little fast girlfriend because I'm too young to be a grandmother. What should I do? Well, baby, let me tell you this real quick. You did a really good job by communicating, and we want to thank you and thank you for believing that this is a safe space, because it is. I'll let the ladies take it first, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what you really need to do.
You know, I think that giving him rubbers is the right thing to do, because you're not going to stop him from doing what he's...
Wait a minute. She said condoms. You said rubber.
Rubber.
Giving him the prophylactics.
Giving him rubbers is the right thing to do. I think if you wouldn't have gave him the condoms, then you should prepare to be a grandma. Because once your son comes to you and he feels like you're a safe space, I think that's a privilege and honor in itself. And to help him protect himself and make the decisions he's already made be a healthy one, I think that's what parenting is all about. It's not about having them not do what they're gonna do anyways. It's about helping them learn how to do what they're gonna do in a way that's safe, doesn't cause impairments, and doesn't create teenage pregnancy, and we avoid him being a statistic.
Ooh, so good. I completely agree. Look, when I was in my late teens, I went to my mother and I said, Mom, I'm ready to do the do. So we could risk it all, or you could help me figure this out. And my mom said, okay, and she gave me the talk. She said, she told me everything. She didn't say, don't do it. She didn't try to tell me not to be a kid that was gonna do what I knew I was gonna do with or without her. She said, okay, this is what's gonna happen. You know what? You probably are gonna feel a different type of way. Your emotions are gonna change. She didn't, and so because of that, I got to critically think about how I felt about this person and if it was worth it. I think that it's responsible and smart to create a safe space between a parent and their child. Because even if he breaks up with her, he's just gonna go to the next one.
As a boy who was formerly 16,
I bet you we say the same
let
thing.
me tell you something. There's nothing like the feeling of doing it for the first time.
Come on.
And you want that feeling to have a condom on top of it. Because once he does what a lot of people do when you're 16-year-old and you say, you know what, I just want to stick the head in. And the next thing you know, it's the head, the middle, and now you got 9 months later and you got yourself a baby. So I think, Grandma, you don't want to be a grandma. You gave him those rubbers, and now you've avoided a problem, because when you get those hormones from hell, when you get a little taste of that sweet sauce, it's different. It's different.
I too have been a 16-year-old young man.
God.
This is what I want to tell you, and I don't want to throw you off.
Y'all weren't
He was really testing the waters, baby. After 2 years, he done.
He already doing.
So what he did was he brought it to you to see how you were going to feel about it. And thankfully, you were able to be proactive and say, I'm not going to beat you down. Here's the thing. Keeping the lines of communication with a parent is so, so great, because sometimes as young men, we get the worst information in the street. At 16 years old, did you hit something yet? How many you going to hit? And then we as men, we lose our value believing that everything outside of our own internal self is the prize. The Bible says the only opportunity that we have to sin to ourselves, on ourselves, is when we give our body away. So not only rubber should you give him, you should also continue to petition him to believe that he's valuable, that he's loved, that he's honored, that his decisions actually matter, because young men are losing their virginity at such an early age, catching STDs. When I'm going out to speak to high schools, I'm so surprised how many young men who have already encountered STDs, right? And so the challenge becomes, parents, listen, a lot of times we want a helicopter parent, but we have to be able to communicate effectively, because some children, when they're doing that, they're just kind of saying, okay, how you gonna respond to that? And the way you respond to this was actually correct. He feels safe enough, so the next thing that comes, he'll feel safe with you as well. So thank you for sharing with us, and prayerfully it helped.
Her giving him rubbers, condoms is right.
I love
Because I came to my parents, my grandmother, at 16 and asked and said, I'm ready, but I hadn't. Well, I think I was already doing it, and I said I was ready. I think it was right, Willie. Don't tell my business. But the point is, I asked for birth control, and she told me absolutely not, and she raised hell. And I ended up a 16-year-old pregnant girl. And that's why I said, if you don't give him what he needs to be protected, be prepared to be a grandmother. Thankfully, I had a father who said, not on my watch, we ain't doing that. And you may hate me now, but you're going to thank me later. And he was right. Later on, I called and thanked him, and he said, for what? I said, for being a father, because you made the right decision. My grandmother, my mom, woman being emotional, was like, no, you're keeping it, no way. But hold on, Grams. Love you to death, but you didn't give me the contraceptive that I was asking for. It could have avoided that. But daddy stepped in. That's why I say fathers are so important, because a woman is what her daddy makes her. And he said, no, we're not doing this. He picked me up, and he was the last face I seen walking into that abortion clinic, and he was the first face I seen walking out. And so just grateful for that. But I want to say, go on and give your kids what they need, because it's going to happen. And if they come into you, they've already ruminated on it. They've either done it or they're about to do it.
When you are in that room, or you in that little, because it's a plan, it's conniving, it's sneakery, it's rambunctious, raucous revelry that you're planning to do with this young lady. Rambunctious, raucous revelry is full debauchery. You have a plan. Her mama not home, his daddy not home. It's going down. So you better hit it and be glad that you put those condoms in it.
Them rubbers.
Hey, congratulations, Mom. Thank you for sharing.
We appreciate you. Please hit us in the comments, because it's going down in the DM. And you know, that's all I'm saying. So that's all the time we have for tonight. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials and right here on Fox Soul YouTube. Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Peace.